So, therefore, the device was that it's not question of legal and illegal. Whether you have a cheaper or a better alternative, whether it will be disruptive, which becomes unreasonable. So a whole lot of new arguments have now been created, which you should apply your mind to for activism. Now, Article 21. If you read it, it's a simple one. Nobody shall be deprived of his life or imprisoned without due process, something like that. But now they have said that includes now a decent life, it includes the right to free travel, it includes the right to safety, all kinds of things have been added on. So the Supreme Court is now going on adding to Article 21. And very soon it will become more important than the Article of the Fundamental Rights, Article 19 for example. So therefore, this judicial overreach is expanding your rights for enhancing your fundamental rights. In other countries, they have gone some steps ahead of us. For example, defamation law. In America, if I am an ordinary citizen and somebody calls me a thug, I can file a defamation suit. But if I am a politician, a public person, cinema actor, football player, then I cannot file a defamation case unless I can show that the person who defamed me was falsely defaming me and he knew that he was falsely defaming me. Can anybody prove that? If I say somebody is an idiot and he puts a defamation case against me, I may have used the word just like that without knowing, checking his IQ and then coming to the conclusion. So how could I know? So now it is impossible for politicians in America to file defamation cases. I tried to bring that into India, but Justice Mishra was not ready. I also wanted to say that just because a man says something, for his expression, he should not go to jail. So don't criminalize defamation. You can have a suit for damages. Even that Justice Mishra did not agree. But sooner or later we will bring it. So there is this way of expanding. Hate speeches. I got a petition in the Supreme Court that they are presently as worded is unconstitutional. One of the finest judgments was given by Justice Rohington Nariman in the Shriya Singhal case. Do you know about the Shriya Singhal case? Yeah. It was actually essentially on the question of defamation in internet. So under the IT Act, Internet Information Technology Act,
66A.
Yeah, 66. Right. So he has now defined what is incitement. He has defined this judgment, you must read. It's a superb judgment because he says if tomorrow I say Babri Masjid should be demolished because it is not a religious place in Saudi Arabia, they demolish masjids. That is not you cannot say it's a hate speech. Hate speech is only now, according to the new judgment of the Supreme Court, only if I am able to incite a public disorder. Supposing I am inside a theatre, cinema is going on, it's jet black, it's all completely dark, and I get up and say, fire, fire. What will happen? Everyone will get up and start running. That some people will get trampled and so on. So that is the immediacy of you're saying something and a result coming. So the incitement should be immediate and proximate. So like that, today judicial legal activism is judicial activism plus individual activism, has now enlarged the scope of our fundamental rights. But fundamental rights are not absolute, they are subject to reasonable restrictions. And therefore, nobody can say I can do what I like, I can eat what I like. Nobody has a fundamental absolute right to eat a cow. Why? Because Article 48 of the Constitution says that there shall be a ban on the slaughter of cows. Nobody can say that I can have 4 wives, because Article 44 of the Constitution says that there shall be a uniform civil code, and that uniform civil code shall adopt modern principles. In any case, 50% of are women, 50% are men. If every man starts marrying 4 women, they'll run out of women. So many people have to become bachelors. So therefore, it is not natural. There is one controversial law which today modern people don't like me exposing, and that is this LGBT or whatever it's called.
377.
377. People want to amend it. I say, if you are one of these L or B or G or whatever, it is not your fault. It's a genetic flaw. I will not discriminate against you in economic matters. I will not discriminate against you as in personal relationship of talking with you and so on. But I will not allow you to make out that this is normal and flaunt it. In America, what has happened is now they have started gay bars. And even young boys are being kidnapped into that. Pedophile has come as a consequence of that. This is westernization. And therefore I am against an amendment to Article 3, Section 377 of the IPC. Of course, I am not suggesting that police should go and raid bedrooms and find out whether the man, whether something like that is going on. The right of privacy will respect, but you can't go around public parks behaving as if man and man relationship is as normal as man and woman relationship. So these are controversial areas in which your activism will get tested. So now there are many important things we have established. In 2G, it's alright we have lost in that Saini court, but in appeal we will win. I'm 100% certain. But what I got done in Supreme Court had nothing to do with what Saini was looking at. In Supreme Court, I went and filed a petition to say that Mr. Raja has given spectrum to 9 private companies at the price that was prevailing for spectrum in 2001. In 2009. In 2001, there were only 4 crore mobile sets. In 2009, there were 70 crore mobile sets. So the demand for spectrum had gone up. And in fact, market survey said that spectrum, which was costing 1680 crores in 2001 for 4 megahertz, was now worth 16,800 crores, 10 times. So Mr. Raja sold it at 2001 price. That means there was a loss to revenue. What is the use of his attacking this Vinod Rai? Vinod Rai may have given a specific figure, 1,76,000 crores. I will say you collected a revenue of 15,000 crores only, multiply by 10, you will get 1,50,000 crores, a little less than Mr. Rai's estimate. Loss of revenue was there, but that was not the issue on which I was fighting. I was fighting on the issue that spectrum is a natural resource. The airwaves that go, they go through space, and the space has to be such that it doesn't interfere with defense airwaves and so many other things. So it's a natural space, this is God-given space. It belongs to the people. And therefore, if it is to be utilized for commercial purposes, it should be at the market price. And the best way to discover market price is by auction. That is all that Supreme Court said. There was no reference to Vinod Rai and all that. So all this TV broadcast, presentation you're seeing of this Raja, I think he's gone a little mad. He's just going on attacking him. It's got nothing to do with the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court said that Mr. Raja gave the spectrum at 1/10 of the price, and those who got it sold it at 8 times the price to foreign companies like Etisalat, Telenor, and so on. So had the government sold to these foreign companies, they would have got at least 10 times the revenue that they got. So there is a loss of revenue, and some people obviously have benefited, so the CBI should investigate that. So that investigation had nothing to do with cancelling of licenses. Licenses are cancelled only because that they were given on the first come first served basis. Many of the people like the Unitech and Dawood's man Shahid Balwas, they were sitting in the room of the minister even before the auction was announced. The first serve was announced. So they were favored. So therefore this had to be traced, and the CBI and Enforcement Directorate did this job, but something happened to Mr. Saini, I don't know. But in the High Court we are bound to win. It happens. I myself lost this 2G spectrum case in the High Court. And guess who was the Chief Justice who heard me? Deepak Mishra. And then I went in appeal to the Supreme Court before Singhvi and Ganguly. And they upheld my view. And that's how the judgment came. And since then, we have been auctioning spectrum, we have been auctioning coal blocks and so on. And so that the maximum revenue is realized. This is the contribution to the country. Then, I've already told you about Ram Setu and Nirbhaya. Temples in our country. Under Article 25, can be taken over by the government. Can be taken over by the government. Now, but what the government was doing is taking over, they have taken over 4.5 lakh temples and taking away all the money. Tirupati is the richest temple, government is taking the money, they even give it for Hajj. Now of course the Hajj subsidy has been cancelled. But this money was misused, temple development was not taken place. When was the Tirupati temple taken over by the government for the financial administration? 1933. How many years does that make? 84. 84 years. So like that, there are some temples which are taken 100 years ago. And bureaucrats sit there and lord it over the pujaris. I once had to go for the Tirupati case because the government appointed board of directors something, board of overseers, whatever. They decided to convert Tirupati into a golden temple. And they decided to knock holes in the wall and hang gold plates. So I went, the pujaris there, they came to me and they wept before me, saying we can't allow this. I said, why? He said, on the walls are writings, there are texts which tell you how to create Naivedyam, that is how the offerings to God are prepared. All this will be wiped out. So I went and met the the chairman of the board. I said, why are you doing this? Oh, it's a golden temple, it looked very nice, one golden temple in South India also. I didn't ask him where you going to get the gold, because I was suspecting that this part of the gold which he had been holding it inside. And then he was selling it to Tirupati, I don't know. But I said, what about the walls? You're putting holes in it and putting boards with gold. He said, yes, that's the only way I can put gold. I can't paste it. I said, but what about all those writings? He said, we have taken a video of it and we are putting it in a museum. And whoever wants to go and see the video of the museum. Then I said, also the Archana also you can do a video and put it there. So I went to the court and I said, this is not the job of the board. Board is there only for financial management. They are interfering with the religious character of the temple. Therefore, should be struck down. I won that case. Then I went to another case. A beautiful Nataraj temple in a town called Chidambaram. Don't confuse him with this Joe who is about to go to jail. Chidambaram is another name for Shiva. This town of Chidambaram is very ancient. The pujaris there came from Sultanpur. They are known as Dikshitars. Their original name was Dikshit. But Tamil Dikshitar means like saying Dikshit Ji. So Dikshitars are the Karunanidhi said that it shall be the goal of the Dravidian movement to see that this particular temple, which is so much worship, should be taken over by the government. And all the jewels in it and all should be taken over. So he took it over. So all the sadhus, big prominent sadhus told me, you must fight this case. So I went to the Supreme Court and brought an order, striking down the takeover. But more important, I got an order that no temple shall be taken over by the government for financial management for more than a limited period, which I suggested should be 3 years, the court suggested 5 years. And of the 44.5 lakh temples presently in the government, 95% are more than 15 years in the hands of the government. So according to this judgment, they should all be freed now. So why don't we free them? Who to give it to? Tirupati is 84 years. Tell me who I should give it to. Is any of you ready to take it over and manage it? If I put it like that, everybody will come because Tirupati has got so much money and value. The original person who was the trustee is no more there. So in effect, I have got a very good order to release temples from the government hands, but I don't know who to give it to. So I'm calling a conference of the sadhus to see if we can create an overall national trustee body. My last point will be that law is now the modern weapon of democracy. Guns and all have become out of fashion. It's there as an essential situation to deal with some problems. But in society, in a democratic society, the real weapon is law. And I would like to see law now being made compulsory in schools. People shouldn't be afraid of the police. They come to the house, everybody gets nervous. I've got about 15 police commandos. If I go to somebody's house, all the neighbors come, what happened, what crime has he committed? I mean, they think my neighbor, that person I've gone to see, has committed some crime, that's why. This fear of the police is because your lack of knowledge of law. And therefore, law is an extremely good subject. It's evolving, and the more activism there is, the better laws we'll have. Thank you very much.